Good evening and welcome to LegalTech Live. I'm your host, Nick Rishwain, and we're joined today by Felicitas in Iraida of Get the Docs. And I told them in advance that I may butcher the names. That is common for me. Long-term listeners and viewers know, so I apologize. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Little background on our two female founders tonight. Your website says Get the Docs is a social platform that provides immigrants and others with the opportunity to get their documents from their countries of origin at a price that is fair and secure, which is hugely important, especially if you're not in your home country or a country of origin. And a little bit about Felicitas, the founder and CEO. Felicitas is a self-employed German lawyer admitted to practice in New York. She worked for a New York law firm after graduating with her LLM at Cornell Law School in 2019. And Iraida is a Guatemalan self-employed lawyer who provides services for A to J Tech Store, which is a friend of the show. She co-founded Public Note in 2018, graduated with an LLM at Cornell Law School in 2019, and is pursuing an MBA from the London School of Business and Finance. Thank you, ladies, for being here. I'm excited to learn about your company. It looks to me, those are very short bios. Is there anything, let's start with Felicitas, is there anything, I'm sure there's plenty because that was rather short, but tell us a little bit about your legal journey and then into legal tech, followed by Iraida.
Yeah, thank you for having us for the invitation. And yeah, so I was born and raised in Germany. I followed the very traditional legal career in Germany. I went to law school, had then this practical training called referendariat, where you go through like the different kind of stage, like little stations. I worked as a German prosecutor. I worked for the German Department of Defense until I decided that this cannot be enough. I want to like expand my legal expertise, and so I went to the States to attend the LLM at Cornell, where where we met, Iraida and I, that was actually the start of my like startup career, so to say, because Iraida is an entrepreneur before I even considered being one. Also, the legal tech industry was actually something new for me. So yeah, we got to know each other. We talked about how we can, especially being in the States, seeing some kind of an urgent need to maybe help some immigrants there, how we can change the world maybe a bit with our like profession, and that's basically how everything started. That we just sat together and said, okay, how can we change it, and how can we help people in a digitalized way, combining tech and legal work.
Excellent. And Iraida, please share your journey, because it does. You were a founder previously, and tell me about your legal journey and then into legal tech.
So my legal journey, yeah. So I studied law in Guatemala too. I did mostly a traditional career in the beginning. I worked for a regional firm for almost 3 years, which gave me a great background to understand how corporate law works. Then I wanted to do a bit more, so I went to the LLM program. Before leaving, I co-founded Public Note, which is the first startup. It's still running and working, and it provides services for public notaries in Latin America and for entrepreneurs there if they want to launch their business in the States. They can use our software, and it facilitates processes for both lawyers and entrepreneurs. And afterwards, I went to the LLM. We met and we stayed working each one on our own projects in New York. And I think that moment was essential to determine we have to do something because we were so, well, first of all, I'm Guatemalan, so I'm a Central American, right?
Mhm.
And we were very close to the immigration border crisis in the States.
Yeah.
So I think that period of
Mhm.
our career was essential to say, okay, there's something that has to be done. I had a chance to be an interpreter in the farm worker legal assistance clinic at Cornell, where I could see how many cases, how many immigration asylum cases were being handled. And I had the chance to work one-on-one with the clients and with the lawyers from the clinic. And we just realized that there was really a need for an infrastructure to provide documents for people. And we said, how can we use digital tools for this? I kept on providing some services. I was working for E2J. Now I'm full-time on Get the Docs.
Mhm.
I had to leave all my friends because I had to focus totally on Get the Docs. That's
Mhm.
the startup world. But yeah, I think it has been good. We're about to turn a year of being together in Get the Docs, and I think it's during this year we have learned a lot, and we have helped a bit, so it's okay.
Excellent. So you're in the market already, correct? I mean, you're already actively, it's not not necessarily in development anymore. So tell us, Felicitas, what Get the Docs does for our viewers and listeners.
Yes, so Get the Docs is basically we are providing an infrastructure for people who are living abroad to get the documents that they need for their asylum cases, for their visa processes, for any kind of reason. We basically simplify the bureaucratic process that people have to go through. We make sure that the document is digitalized. We upload it in a secure portal that we found, like, it is due to COVID, a lot of courts accepted a different kind of documents that was usually not the case, like digitalized PDF data, like something like this. So we thought, okay, we have to make sure that we comply with the data protection. So we organize, we have people in the country of origin of our customers. We contact them, we organize it for our customers, we upload it, and if it's needed, we send them, ship them to our customer itself, to the country. We apostille it, so we make sure that the whole document, the whole process is taken care of. We are this one-stop shop, basically, that you need to have all your documents ready for whatever legal process you're going through at this point of time.
Oh, that's excellent. It's just sort of if I'm in a country and I need to get some documents from my country of origin, it is, you facilitate it, and I don't have to worry about fighting the red tape and the bureaucracy. Is that kind of
correct?
Excellent. Iraida, did you want to? It looked like you had something you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, and maybe when Felicitas refers to documents, I think it's worth to share. We work with birth certificates, death certificates, vital records, criminal records, criminal backgrounds. So each jurisdiction treats the documents in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the country of origin where you are, you're gonna probably need some guidance on which documents you need. So typically, we work with our users and their lawyers, and they provide us with the list of documents that they need. And the usual process would take months probably, because as a normal citizen or user in your country, you would have to go to 3 or 4 different institutions, right, to
Mm-hmm.
do the whole line, do the whole process. And we work with this network of ambassadors that are affiliated to our platform. So these ambassadors represent us in each country. And depending on the country where the orders come, we're gonna contact these ambassadors, and we typically hire self-employed lawyers for people that need an extra, that due to COVID, let's say, lost their jobs or people that need an extra income. And we try to make sure that these people that are part of the chain are very fairly paid. We discovered when we were in the States that, for example, we have Guatemalan lawyers or Salvadoran lawyers that go to the States and charge excessive fees for obtaining documents for people from Central America. So we decided to go against that move and to stay with our fairness chain and the principle of fairness ruling the whole system in the platform.
That's excellent.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Felicitas.
No, exactly, because we wanted to make sure it's not only a reasonable price for our customers, but exactly also every service provider in this chain has to be paid fairly.
I like that. And that also seems that would also kind of structure the pay, right? So that you're not keeping track of just outlandish numbers everywhere else, right? It allows you to do maybe more of a flat fee. Is that right? In certain countries of origin that, okay, this is what we pay for a particular, locating a particular document. Is that fair?
Yeah, which is, by the way, very hard. It's a very hard thing to do because we work with lawyers, and as you know, lawyers usually charge hourly rates.
Sure.
So, but the majority of lawyers that are with us are willing to agree to flat fees because they're in for the cost too. So I think that's what we're made of, our ambassadors, the people that are going there and getting literally the documents.
Those who maybe believe in the cause that they're serving here helps. So who are, let's say we talked about this for those listening, and hi, Morris Lilienthal's watching over in the Facebook group. Hi, Mo, good to see you. Is a lawyer out of Alabama. We want to, we sort of talked about this before we went live, but for our audience, who do you serve most? I started thinking about, well, we've now got this Afghanistan refugee crisis that went into my mind earlier today, but then Felicitas made this the statement that it could be a student who's in the US or in the UK or something like that who needs help getting documents just for their education. So who are the types of clients that you're serving generally?
So you can basically categorize it into two different kind of customers. We put a lot of attention to actually the people in need, such as refugees, immigrants, marginalized groups. Mm-hmm. But we also have like more the corporate side, such as employees, students, so we go both ways because we saw that in both cases there's a huge need. COVID made it even more clear when some airports were closed or so traveling was just not even a possibility. We have right now from 50-50. We work with a lot of legal aids who of course have their clients are more people who are really where we talk about asylum cases, where we don't also where the clients have monetary issues, where we have a different kind of financial structure in place. And then there are actually a lot of American clients who want to immigrate to Central America. And like this is right now most of the people we are serving.
How interesting.
Yes.
Did you expect that when you started the
company?
No.
So that was a spin-off in our history, to be honest, because we just thought, so when you first think about it, you think, okay, the majority of people are trying to come to the US. Okay, so we're gonna set the platform and we're gonna try to help them. And then we partner up with an amazing law firm in Costa Rica, Rio, and they started asking you, so can we do it vice versa? Because we have many people that want to retire here, and now we're actually they're authorizing the digital nomad visa. So not only retiring people, but also young people that want to move to Costa Rica and they want to incorporate into the system. They want to move and they need their documents. So I think that's an example of the second group of people that Felicitas was mentioning. And it's really even, the workload, it's very even.
How fascinating. Yeah. So, I mean, it almost becomes a marketplace there, right? Now we're serving those who are trying to come to the US and those who are looking to leave or at least travel abroad. When you're working with those who are leaving the US, is it, are they leaving for good, or are they wanting to spend more time in another country? How is that? Is it like just more of a longer term stay, or are they trying to be gone for good?
So typically they are applying for residences. So they're I believe they're planning to live for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it depends on each case, right? But the majority of people we have worked with from the States, they want to leave. They want to live.
That's interesting and fascinating. I mean, we saw this happen over the last few years, right? We saw there was a lot of outrage around immigration policies in the US. So it was, and we saw huge the caravans of people coming from Central America through Mexico into the border. So, I mean, I'm sure inspired. It sounds like that part of that inspired the creation of the company. But we did then also see more people claiming that they wanted to surrender, or I think there was an uptick of surrendering passports. So it's interesting that where you plan to serve and now where you're serving, and it's fairly equally distributed. That's fascinating. So what kind of documents, if I'm in the US, maybe I was sponsored by my employer to be here under an H-1B, but I need more. What kind of documents are you generally seeing that people need help kind of tracking down from their country of origin?
So mostly it's birth certificates and criminal background checks. That's like the top documents that are usually always asked for. Then we have sometimes now it's marriage certificates. If a minor is involved, sometimes also, but it's usually those very like the common documents to prove your identity and your existence are the ones, and to and the current background check, just to make sure you didn't do anything forbidden in the country that you're going from.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. But so I'm assuming, because I have not moved abroad, but I'm assuming that they had these documents. All right, and maybe you can tell us. I'm assuming they had to produce these documents when they first arrived in the US. Is it they've been lost in moves, destroyed, or why is there such a need to find these documents again?
Okay, so usually your lawyers ask for them when you're moving abroad, because the governmental authorities of the country issuing your visa, your permit, your residence, whatever, they're going to keep a copy of or an original certificate in their file from you. So any lawyer would suggest you keep a copy for yourself and then buy one or get one for your procedure, right?
Okay.
We have worked not only with cases like the US, for example. We're working right now with another organization in Mexico, Intrare, and they work with refugees, and they are helping Central American people that stay in Mexico instead of getting to the US, or South American people, for example, because you were asking what type of documents, right?
Yeah.
So we have been also asked to get university degrees from Venezuela, for example, academic records from schools, medical records sometimes, or for some criminal cases or asylum cases, we have been asked to research some newspapers, for example, to
Interesting.
prove certain facts from the countries of origin. So those are the types of documents that are a bit more complex, that are not the typical menu of marketplace documents. We call them the customized documents,
Right.
because maybe legal aid organizations are going to tend to need them for their procedures.
Interesting.
And
Go
if
ahead.
I may add, sometimes it's actually people have the documents with them, but they're not apostille. So the apostille, I don't know if you're like, if you know what that is. That is actually the verification that the document you're showing is real. It's like most of the countries are part of the Hague Convention,
Mhm.
where the apostille is recognized. And this is actually also big market for us, because people say, I have no birth certificate here, but there's no apostille on it. So it might be easier to go through the whole process that in the country of origin, you actually ask for your birth certificate and let it apostilled, instead of sending your birth certificate back to, let's say, Germany or wherever you're coming from, and put an apostille and ship it back. So this is also sometimes the reason why we are contacted.
Okay, that makes sense. So that leads me to forgive my ignorance, as I was telling you before. I want to ask these questions that are almost lay, because I anticipate it educates me about the company, but I also it allows for the conversation to go this way. But I do want to touch on the refugee crisis, or crises, I guess, because there's a variety of them, and we've seen more of that just in the last decade. There's just been some huge crises, but the idea was to bring, to help people in getting to the U.S., but it sounds like it morphed, as well as now Iraida was talking about people who were now settling in Mexico from Central America, right? So are you now finding that there's a need for the service that you're having for countries that just don't even involve the US? It's, Mexico and Central America, Venezuela and Mexico, things like that. Has the scope broadened beyond what you expected?
Totally. We have a section in our website, actually, where you can vote for the next country where you think that we should be. And the majority of votes started with India, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different countries of South America, which we have almost covered.
The Philippines.
Asia was the region, and Europe. So
Interesting.
So we have people voting for our presence there, and we have also people asking for documents, countries that we never expected to have, like we've had Italy requests, we had Austria requests.
And is this for interaction with the US, or is this from Italy to Mexico? And yeah, interesting.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So because I mean, it really could be from any country to any country. That's much more, as you said, that you were surprised at people leaving. I realized, not just that, but if you need documents from one country and you're in another country, you really have a global market that you can serve here. Very global market that I don't think I would have anticipated myself.
We didn't either, and we really because we and the thing is, what we really underestimated, it's not only providing. So we start, okay, where are the people coming from? Let's say Guatemala. So we have to know the jurisdiction. We have to prepare what kind of documents and what the requirements to obtain the documents are. But once the request changed, we have to open the scope of services, and we had to add a country after country. So we have lists with legal requirements of every country, which is a lot of preparation and work, but we are happy.
I mean, that's really a good problem to have with a startup, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
it's a very, very good problem, but a very scary problem too, because it can go very fast. It escalates fast. So when you're when you're starting a business in your, starting with your business model and thinking about how to do things, and out of a sudden they're asking you for documents from very different countries. So what we have decided to do is we started to work on with an MVP, which is the site that you can see online right now.
What was the site again?
It's getthedocs.com.
Oh, it's on that site. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our MVP, and we decided, okay, let's see if once we launch it. We did a soft launch last December, or January, yeah,
December.
And we said, okay, if it's working, we're gonna invest in a more personalized, coded, and more specific platform that has now all the requirements of the documents, that has the possibility to include translations, the possibility to include the apostille. So it's a very nice platform, the one that is coming soon.
Good.
By the end of September, hopefully. But it's going to include many other countries that we were not even thinking about.
Yeah, that you didn't anticipate. And I'm sure there's been, and again, this is founder journey stuff. So I think you guys have done really great on describing the product and informing me as to how the product works. But on the founder journey side, how's that? There's always the worry about customization and feature creep and that type of stuff. And are we getting too far ahead of ourselves? Have you found that you had to ramp up employees or anything like that to keep up with the workload while still focusing on, all right, what's the core offering that we have, and what can we do without getting, without overstretching ourselves? Have those issues come up?
Yeah, I think they always come. It's just a matter of time,
right?
But we are already there.
Mm-hmm.
So the good thing is that we have a great team of independent contractors that are helping us right now. We have a researcher from Germany. We have an operations manager, which is she's a star from Guatemala. We have a financial consultant also from Guatemala. So I think we're a very diverse team, and everyone is really bringing something totally different, and that has allowed Felicitas and I to keep up with the pace for the expansion that we need.
That's great. And the development being done in-house, the actual product development, or the site, the platform?
No, we outsource it.
You outsource that, and that makes sense. I'm sure you're busy actually hunting down paperwork a lot. Is a lot of your day to day?
And since we are lawyers, of course, we draft everything on our own, but only the legal work. We thought, well, we're not even lawyers right now here in this in our project, but like the legal amount of work is really, really unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. So just the kind of work you completely underestimate, because of course we have our operations dealing with our customers and do the best service that we can, and all the back office work.
Sure.
Establishing partnerships, and growing corporate structuring,
learning languages.
I'm imagining, first of all, that you're going to be better at languages than an American who's only really ever had to speak one. I take that. I understand. I'm so limited here with maybe a little Spanish, but very little. But have you found it necessary to, like, oh man, I really need to advance another language because we have so much work from this particular region?
I think not specifically. We run everything on English, like that's our universal language. So I think we're good with that. But there are certain areas where we're going to expand, where we always need someone in the local country to speak their language, right? And we try to work with lawyers so everything is more secure.
And we really saw the advantage we have some customers from German-speaking areas, and that the customers are fine with English, but most of them are just very, very happy when you approach them in their mother tongue. Like,
Yeah.
So of course I think I have to really learn Spanish properly because this is of course covering right now most of the regions. We are so lucky to have so many nice friends and contacts through our Cornell experience, so that we're very, like, we have so many people around the world that can help us, like Arabic speaking friends, Russians, French. So that is really a big advantage also.
That's fantastic. And so is the company, are you searching for funding at this stage, or are you self-funding? Is it, I mean, you've got paying clients, which is, fantastic for startups. It's not always the case, especially with software companies, but is it something that you're looking for investment now to expand?
I think we're gonna start looking soon.
Okay.
We're gonna need it. So up to now we have been self-funding it and family funding it, to be honest.
Right.
The typical family and friends round, our friends didn't help, but our family did. So it's
Sure.
This is a shout out
Moral
to
support.
shout out to our friends. No, but it was a self-funded project, and now there's gonna come a point where we're gonna need it. We need to structure our budget and our finances properly before we do that, because we have to see how much we're gonna expand in a period of time. But that's something to be defined very soon, and we're definitely gonna go out for investment.
Yeah, I was just thinking in my mind that the total addressable market here, now that you've seen how big it can get, it seems really inviting from an investment standpoint.
Yeah, but it's one of the hardest things to financially measure also.
Yeah.
So you can, when we're analyzing with our financial advisor, one of the things we say and we discuss is it's like the market is, how can you explain that the market is the world?
Yeah, right. That's not going to go
and
over.
how can you measure it? That's the thing. But we're going to find a way to measure it.
You have to. And I mean, imagine you're getting some good data based on people who are voting for which country they'd like to see and where there's hot spots. And I mean, there's got to be, it sounds like Latin America is a very big market for you at this time. And so I'm sure there's great data that's already been obtained from serving that market.
Yeah, and we need to mention, we started like a couple of months ago. We thought, okay, maybe we should like explore options regarding funding, but it was just too early. At that point, we really didn't have a big amount of sales, and also up to this point, we didn't make huge investments in marketing and advertisement. So we were surprised how well it goes without us even putting it out there. So that's also why we are not. We have clients in Europe, but we haven't opened the whole market in regard of it's a complete different coverage geographically, also in regard of the refugees. Like we have, especially in Germany, a lot of people from the Middle East, from North Africa. This is a whole different scenario that we have not even fully covered yet. So that's going to be huge too.
Yeah, we have been focused because we were in the States, and we were so close to that immigration crisis. We were looking at that, I think, very focused. And then we realized that the immigration crises are everywhere. So yeah, I think the expansion plan is going to take some time. But I think also with good funding, we're going to be able to have a good diverse team to get it done.
So for those listening afterwards or watching right now,
open up your wallet.
I'm almost in on this. I kind of want to be early on this one because I do think that it's like, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why from my very few operations where I've done any angel investing, which is small, but when I have, I'm like, what's the driver here? And in the last 10 years of my life and your lives, we've seen, as a result of Syria's battle and ISIS in the Middle East, we saw millions of refugees moving from that area. Maybe in the last 8 years, this has been huge. Then we've had the crises at the border in the US, which has now been going on 5 years and continues. And then now I'm watching Afghanistan unfold, and anticipating there will be more from the after effects of that. And then we see the longer term is the global warming related stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, that, there's a huge potential. And I think I've read articles over the years that say there's a huge potential for mass migration of people, right? So, I mean, there seems to be in the last 10 years, it seems to be that's been the case in my experience. Does that fit in? Does that sound like your anticipation for not necessarily that it has to all be refugee movement, but just migration movement of people? Does that seem to fit in your market research?
Yeah, we have done, for example, we have done statistics research only for the countries that we serve right now, which are 12. And the statistics point that the countries have every time more migration. Like
it is
in the States, when you would never imagine that, as we were saying, even the US is high on migration.
On migration. Yeah. So in the 12 countries in which you have a footprint right now, the data shows that migration is increasing across the board, which goes with what with what I've seen, or as just a person who reads the news, it seems to be that this has been increasing. So that is a fascinating product market fit in my mind, or potential for product market fit in a market that will need to be served with technology, right? Because we've already seen the difficulty in the slow moving issues and the red tape associated with anything to do with immigration. And that's in about any country, it seems. Is that accurate? Is bureaucracy a problem in most countries in which you serve?
Yeah, in the majority of countries it is. Something that I don't want to say helped, but in this case it served the legal processes was, for example, that due to COVID in the States, they allowed these digital copies of documents in certain courts instead of having the original documents, what Felicitas mentioned in the beginning. So some of our clients request for the documents, and we just send them through our secure portal instead of having to ship the documents and adding that shipping cost and that shipping period of time to the procedure. But in general, the majority of courts around the world, they usually need the hard copies of the documents. So we work with both the secure portal, so people have always a digital copy of their documents, and then we ship them to the address that they provide us.
So that if somebody's willing to accept the digital copy, because sometimes they will, right? Sometimes, and certainly, yeah. I'm assuming that COVID made that much more acceptable in certain circumstances. So they have access to that through your portal while they're awaiting the hard copies.
Correct.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I must add that due to COVID, the processing times increased intensely, and That's
The
why
delays, yeah.
they are so delayed. Sometimes they're waiting periods of a couple of months before we can actually get the document. And that is, of course, sometimes we are very clear with our customers that we cannot give any kind of time like promises because it's really, I mean, we have like a range of like time window where we can say we think you will have your document by then, but it's really, really difficult because it just takes so long.
Yeah, and imagine COVID. I mean, I imagine you'd have to make that disclaimer just dealing with governments in normal times. I feel like that disclaimer would be necessary, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
because you never know how fast any particular government organization might move. You might have a range, but and so during this experience, I'm sure it is has increased. What do you think the number one issue? Let's do, and I don't want to keep you all night or all morning. We've got just a few minutes left, so maybe kind of quickly, what has been one of the biggest obstacles for you in your founder journey, and then what is one of the biggest successes that you've had? And you may agree on this, or you may both have two separate. Each of you don't have to both have the same success and same obstacle. It's fine if we have one of each.
Okay, I'm gonna start.
Yeah,
Yes.
you
So the first obstacle that I would identify is to distinguish our business model, because we were surprised by this factor of not only helping marginalized communities, but also only people that are immigrating from one country to another. So I think the definition of the business model was the first, the biggest challenge. Including that expansion that I talked about. And the biggest success, I think we have a slogan that is improving people's lives one document at a time. And I think that just by one person that could obtain a document for their asylum case in the United States or wherever they are, but just by the fact that one person had a difference in their life, I think that's the success.
And that's a pretty good success. I mean, that's, I guess, even if something horrible didn't work out for the company, you would have done some good. And that's got to feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Felicitas, it's your turn.
I would say, yeah, the obstacles is the management of the huge market potential, because we were so overwhelmed how quickly and fast we were growing, so that we had to calm down and really day by day structure the next steps before we basically lost completely track. That was, I think, a great chance, but it's still like a huge challenge. And success-wise, I would say just to have already customers that we are actually already selling, that we have some kind of confirmation of our product by now already, and that is, I think, something great.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge success. I think, because having that traction and knowing that there's a need for this is really validating. How do people get in touch with you? Everybody over on Facebook's just been entirely too quiet tonight. Thanks, Mo, for checking in. If you have any last minute questions, you better get them in for Felicitas and Iraida. But I think you're going to want to follow them anyway on social media and keep up with this, because I think this is going to continue to grow. How do people get in touch with you?
So you can always contact us through Instagram, Twitter, or we have our email address, WhatsApp. We have a telephone number. Yeah.
So let's tell them the website.
www.getthedocs.com.
And Get the Docs is GET, only one T. GETHEDOCS.com.
Yeah.
So getthedocs.com, one T in there. And they are also Get the Docs on Twitter. Is the same on Instagram, WhatsApp, everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And they can reach out. I think Iraida's on Twitter as well. I think that's how she made contact with me the first time. How about you, Felicitas? Is it LinkedIn for you, or are you busy?
That's
I was
fair.
really like I'm very typical German in that regard. Like I'm trying to figure Twitter out on my own. Like I have an account, but I still need some kind of teaching from Iraida how really to use my channel.
Yeah, you can contact me and I'll let you
Yeah, I
know.
think
You,
in regard of Twitter, maybe. Yeah, on LinkedIn you can find us as well, of course. Twitter is not
excellent.
my thing.
Well, this is really exciting. I mean, I think you're in a great market. I have not done a lot of, we've had a lot of immigration legal tech startups in the US, or several. I'm sure you're familiar and maybe even friendly with some, but I have not focused. We had one guest once before. This is the first really focused on immigration. I can't tell you why. I don't know if they've ever reached out before, but I'm glad you did, because it's a really exciting space that you're in. And I'm going to wish you both very well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for having us, Nick.
No, thank you. We really appreciate you sharing your story with us. We may or may not be back next week, folks. For those who are looking forward, we will be back for certain on the 26th of August with Aaron Levine of Hello Divorce, who just got $2 million in funding. So you may want to join and listen. And we will continue on with our female founder series. Maybe a surprise episode next week. We're trying to hunt down somebody to fill in the empty space in our calendar. Iraida and Felicitas, thank you so much. I'm wishing you well. Don't disappear when we stop recording, but I will look forward to following your journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.